One hand.
Is that serious?
PowerPoint.
Yeah. All right, I'm gonna call the meeting of the River Plantation Municipal Utility District Board of Directors to order at 6:32 p.m. on Thursday, October 27th. Okay. Has everybody looked at the minutes of the meeting?
I did.
You did or didn't?
I did. The ones that we received
Today.
did not have the attachment on them. And the last item talks about an attachment.
To the minutes.
Which attachment was that?
I was gonna say to the minutes,
Yeah, I thought so.
because the minutes just summarize what I don't ever see that attachment. I don't think I did the minutes. I don't know. There they are right there.
I didn't see anything.
Okay, so the last sentence says the director board, and unanimously, the board approved the attached resolution for
That's
adoption.
this right here.
But it
That's,
wasn't
we
attached
just have to
this.
sign it.
That wasn't attached to the minutes.
Correct. It's,
Okay.
it's this, so that it's the resolution for the rate order and that,
Right.
and the service fees. I thought it was it was in the packet.
It was in the second packet.
Yeah, it was in the other packet.
But if we're gonna publish this on the website, and it's gonna refer to an attachment, the attachment should be part of this document.
It will be on the website.
Yeah, it's because these got late, so,
Right.
yeah. Mr. Robin, don't leave before I talk to you today. You need to turn in a thing for your
Yes, ma'am.
meetings
Yes, ma'am.
last year.
I'm here for you.
Actually, for you.
Thank you. Yeah, it's actually for you, so, yeah, okay. Okay, so do I have a motion, or do I have any questions on the minutes? Do I have a motion to
I'm going to
accept?
accept the minutes.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
I seconded you tonight.
All right. Second thing is receive comments from the public, okay? D. Judge, you
Okay,
want to address this?
yes, I'd like to address the board. I guess the last time we were here, or I was here anyway, I think Carl brought up the thing about insurance, and then it was noted that the insurance had increased quite a bit. And, you know, we've got a big debt, and I think we ought to be watching where our money goes, so we can either pay that down or put the money aside for the next bond. But what I was looking at, and then I checked with the TCEQ, and their requirements are 200 gallons of water per connection. Well, we have 2 500,000-gallon tanks, which gives us water for 5,000 connections. We have less than 1,000. So I don't know why we're spending money on 2 plants. In fact, the TCEQ said that those tanks can be sold because there's a market out there. But I mean, when you think about the cost, you've got insurance, electricity, gas, chlorine, there's upkeep there. Even the guy that does the groundskeeping, he cuts the edges. There's a lot of time and money spent on this project, and that plant was put up for a project that never happened. So it's really something we're carrying, and we've been carrying that for 12 years. So we've got monthly costs for 12 years on that thing, which we really don't need, and we need our money in our bank.
Okay. I will give you my opinion, and I'm sure Keith has an opinion, but I think we saw it appear this summer, how we needed a redundancy of, which even the redundancy didn't help us, because then our interconnect agreement fell apart. So, but in my opinion, we do need two and three. We don't need one because it won't service the whole.
Now, are you referring to the well, or are you referring to the tank?
I'm referring to the well.
Well, no, I'm not talking
Okay,
about the well.
you're just talking about the tank.
The well was there
Okay.
for 12 years.
You're just talking
before
about the
tank
storage
went up.
tank.
Yeah,
Okay.
because plant 2 is where all the distribution lines are, so all the wells go to 2.
Okay.
And that well's been working with no problem. It's just the storage that we're paying for that we don't need.
Do we need storage?
I mean, as an operator, and I certainly understand the thought, and, you know, I know that there's obviously dollars tied to infrastructure and operations and maintenance, so certainly understand that. I would tell you as an operator, having redundancy is always of benefit, especially whenever you think about, also, the taking a tank down to recoat, to blast, repaint, to have some type of redundancy is very much beneficial. And again, I haven't spent any time looking at it, but the first thing that comes to mind, I mean, without the tank there, you'd have to construct some type of way to pipe water produced from that well to a tank.
No. Hi, it's going to two. It was going to two for 12 years before that facility went up.
So originally, well 3 was a remote well, and then they built
Yeah.
a plant
To the
around
offsite,
it.
okay.
Yeah.
Again, I'm going to be hard pressed, and again, I'm not trying to discount the ideas to cost, but I'm going to be hard pressed to tell you that having that second ground storage tank isn't a benefit, at least in drought, summers, so on and so forth.
Well, we've been through how many years of,
Is there a way to set it up as a, not with the glaciers, not the processing through there, just have the tank there, and as a ground spare, we have to repaint, recoat the other tank, just have it there, but not having it running and I know Dee doesn't like having a gaseous chlorine plant 50 yards from her house. But the thing is do we need to run it, or can we put it in caretaker status?
Are you talking about taking down the whole well number 3?
No, not the well, the
not the
tank.
well,
Just the
the
tank.
The
tank.
tank,
Okay.
the water processing,
Why don't we
clearing
just
it or
let-
whatever, just keep it in the caretaker
Keith,
status.
look at it and give us a recommendation.
Well, I'd like to know what the cost is on that, on a monthly basis, because for 12 years, we've been spending money on it. There was never a reason to put it up there, except for this project that never happened. Because even the letter we have from a Happy way back when they put the well in, he said, don't worry, we're not gonna put a plant up there, because we don't need it, it's not economical, and all the lines go to plant 2. So any well you put on is gonna go to plant 2 for processing.
Dee, are you talking about by your house?
Yeah.
Well, I know for a fact that during Harvey, we lost the others, and that was the only one working for us to have water.
The only one,
The only water we had was from that pump.
Well, yeah, well
yeah,
number
but
2
we
is
have an interconnect, how come that is?
Let's
Well,
look at it and make recommendations. We can't spend the whole evening.
We're
Yeah,
working
I'll
on
just
the,
ask one question, Keith, so in the main tank needs repair or maintenance, doesn't it need to be shut down? Yes. So then we do need this one at that time?
I mean, I'm not gonna, again, for the sake of being completely honest with you, I mean, there's systems out there that have one tank. And so, I mean, I'm not gonna say there's not workarounds, but I'll tell you that there's a whole lot of efficiency and I mean, there's certainly benefit in having some redundancy in terms of operation. That's.
What's
all
it,
we
is
should
the
do.
cost that absorbent?
Just to make a quick calculation point, that you guys pumped in a total of close to 12 million gallons this month. That's the equivalent to 410 gallons per equivalent single-family connection.
Yeah, but that's a constant thing, we're just looking at storage.
No,
And we're over 200.
it's the 200 per day per connection is the calculation. So you're supposed to have enough to feed 200 gallons per day per connection.
Well,
So you guys feed 410 gallons per day per
Do you know
connection.
how many years we've gone just with that one tank?
I'm not saying,
Isn't it-
I'm not disregarding that sometimes you can do it. I'm saying the most important commodity that you guys have in your district is water, and not having redundancy, it puts the welfare of the community at risk.
and I think we saw it play out this summer.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
I don't disagree that maybe it should have never been built in the first place, but now that you have it, it really is a commodity rather than a drain on the financial position.
And I would put very little faith in the interconnect agreement.
Well,
So-
yeah, but, well, we'll talk about that
We
another
have
time.
it, it's in writing, but we also saw it not work not because it didn't work, because of human error,
Resistance.
Leave precedent out of this.
yeah, human opinions.
Yeah, but now
whatever.
we have a management company, so they gotta,
It
Well,
was,
we had a management company then.
That's not the management company.
Keith was the one that called East Plantation.
well, okay, I thought you were talking about some years ago.
No, I'm talking about the interconnect that we didn't get when we didn't have water for 2 nights this summer. So, okay. All right, Richard Young.
Hello there. I'm not sure if I'm early. I see that the engineer's report is due at item 7, but I had sent an email on the 17th of this month to follow on from an email I sent in June last year regarding the drainage behind my house, which I think I made it pretty clear. I'm not an engineer. If I recall, it was you that came out.
Correct. Yes, sir.
I
Yes, sir.
recognise you. And it was pretty clear from what you said, you didn't say a lot, but from what you said, and also the East Plantation guy that came out, it was pretty clear that the problems are substantial. And I'd like to, the reason I came was to ask the status of the repairs. Where exactly are we at?
So Richard lives, for those of you who don't, Richard lives on Holly Springs.
Is that
So,
River
Holly
Plantation
Springs
section
and
10?
Stone Mountain.
River Plantation section 10, I believe.
I couldn't tell you
Couldn't
that.
No worries.
Yeah.
So just to give you the historical timeline, so I took everything and we presented and the board elected to do a drainage study, and we produced a drainage study that's part of my engineer's report if you got a copy of it.
Yeah, I didn't see that last year. This is the first time I've seen that. That was interesting.
So we went through this whole thing, and we also provided a cost analysis. The tricky part is the ditch and everything like that is all part of East Plantation UD. They have pure control over that. As soon as it hits into River Plantation system, it becomes a 50-50 effort. We presented all of the information, a cost estimate for 2 different options. One being potentially obtaining an easement from you guys and installing 18-inch pipes coming out to the front of y'all's, because the ditch in front has more capacity, along with the way the roadways work. They work as channels in essence when everything floods. The other option was to upsize the pipes downstream. That was more of a long-term fix and overall health of the district. That was gonna cost. Back then, we were at close to $350,000. In today's dollars, it's probably another close to $450,000. We approached East Plantation to say, hey, we need to go on this 50-50, and we have yet to get anything back from them. So I don't mean to speak for the board, but we have no problem trying to address the issue on our side as a 50-50 conglomerate, but as far as cleaning out the channel, it's an East Plantation issue, and I hate to kick the can down the road. I really don't mean to.
So the ditch you're saying is RP?
It's East Plantation.
Plantation.
It's East Plantation,
Yes.
that's what I thought.
Yeah, the ditch is all East
So the
Plantation.
culvert is yours?
It's not ours, it's a shared culvert. It's 50-50, so they need to be willing to put up $450,000 is a substantial amount, especially for all the other issues we're dealing with in the district. But we're willing to put up our share of 225 because we understand how much it helps the residents. We just need to get the other 225 from East Plantation.
Okay, because this affects, it's not just my house that's affected.
No, it's the entire section 10.
Yeah, I can tell you my next neighbor flooded during the Melda.
Yeah, it's the entire section 10 River Plantation.
And if you go to the cross section of Stone Mountain and Holly Springs, the house on what would it be on the south side would be, it floods for sure, because that water just goes across as a sheet. I know that Craig and Kristen, the water was kind of this from their doorstep. So there's multiple houses involved, and the only point I want to make is that
And that's just the Melda.
that's just a Melda.
Right.
I was toe deep in water in my house in the Melda. The only point I want to make here is that I understand the difficulty with East Plantation, I get it, but that doesn't mean that it stops. The repairs don't just not happen because of intransigence somewhere else. That's the only point I wanted to make.
Yeah, we can discuss our options, but it has to be a coordinated effort between the two. It doesn't mean we're going to stop pursuing it, because I I can tell you, I know for a fact that those houses flood because of that problem, because I was out there once or twice on it too. But, that, you know, we will not stop pushing that point. So, now you just have to get East Plantation to come to the table with us and.
At what point do you just say you're not doing your job and get legal involved?
Well, that's,
We're pretty involved right now, and we've had a few letters going back and forth just on the East Ditch clean out, and you know, that's certainly something we're going to talk about later. And there are obviously a number of repairs that would involve East Plantation, everything from sanitary sewer to storm sewer to the wastewater treatment facility that need to be discussed. So we proposed the meeting, have not yet received a response. I understand there may have been some discussion about it at their last meeting, and hope to you know, get to the table with them soon, just so you know we can try and work together to solve some of these issues. So.
and at their last meeting, I don't know if you saw the 5-minute video, but in their 4-minute, 58-second meeting, they did form a committee to work with us, but nobody's heard from them yet.
That was going to be my final question. Is that committee set up for?
It's set up for several issues,
Okay.
I believe, I guess, but
But it
since they didn't
includes-
discuss it, we don't know.
Right,
So-
I get it. But you believe that it
I believe
involves-
it's set up to discuss several things.
Richard,
So-
have you been to their meetings? Have you been to any of their meetings? And
No,
asked
I
them?
have not, but I'm happy to go. I left the email sitting from June last year, but then, like I said, on the 17th of this month, I followed it up, so that's why I'm here. And I'm gonna follow up by going to the next.
Yeah, I would think
implementation.
you and the other residents of part of East Plantation MUD would go to their meetings and put some pressure on them to.
Right.
That you've already.
And I would say I apologize for not sending the report. I honestly thought I had it. So
Oh, okay.
I greatly apologize, because I can understand it feels like nothing was done. I mean, we really did try to evaluate the situation honestly and try to come to the table. We just got no responses.
No, I get it.
And we've had it actually I've had it on my report every month since then. It's just, you know.
Yeah. But I don't think the board intends, I'm speaking for myself, I can't speak for everybody else, but I don't think the board intends to stop pursuing it just because we can't get cooperation from East Plantation.
But
We've got legal representation.
But you have to realize our hands are tied. We can't go into their district and do anything in their district. So we can't even mess with the shared ones until they agree to do it.
Well, one of the comments he made during that meeting is helpful to me, because when I originally talked to Preston this time last year, I guess, June, July of last year, I guess, he said that they weren't in a financial position to help. But he made the comment in that 5-minute
That's
video
it.
that they were stronger now than they
And they've ever
previously
been. Yeah.
So that's,
And prior to that, the county commissioner came out and brought the county engineer, and they basically told Richard and I the same thing as what they told you guys. I mean, what you came up with
Yeah.
is that it needed to be cleaned out and that the culvert was too small.
Yeah.
yeah, thank you for your response on that.
We will pursue that. Okay. Now, Mark, you didn't want to speak, but several people came in. Did you want to speak? Did you want to say anything? Did you want to say anything, James? No? Did I get everybody that came in late? Okay. All right. We're good?
Sorry, I was late.
That's okay.
You want to say anything?
That's okay. All right, financial and bookkeeping matters, bookkeeper's report.
Okay, you have your bookkeeper report. Did you have any questions regarding it?
No,
No. Okay, I will point out, check number 23508, for the Chief of Office. That check has been voided and reissued on check 23537, adjusting the amount for the Chief of Office. Not on the report are additional checks 23533 through the 23537 one being J&K Tree Services, and the remaining checks corporate director, fees of office. Not a lot to point out. Your actual versus budget comparison on page 7. This is your fiscal year end unaudited budget.
I was hoping we would have ended stronger, but we had so many expenses there at the end.
I'm happy that you ended on a positive. I'm just, yeah. And actually, if you look at what your budget, your actual budget,
Yeah.
it was only projected that you would end with a net income of 1,568. So,
Yeah. So we were a little bit ahead of that. So, yeah.
I think this looks good. There's going to be probably some adjustments as I prepare the records for the audit, and the auditor may have some changes, but I think it looks good.
Okay.
So far for your capital projects plan on page 10, you still have remaining funds in the 2022 park, in the amount of $24,740.94. And then, of course, the remaining funds are for the 2022, 2022 WSMD. You have remaining costs of $5,853,128.81. I needed a ruler to read that. And then for surplus interest, $95,785.42.
So, Davis, is this where, can I talk about this tree bid now, or should we do it later?
Sure, that's just fine. Yeah, we can talk, you're talking about the expenses that we're paying now, or?
I'm talking about
or the additional work that needs to be done.
I'm talking about the additional work that needs to be done.
I think that there's some conversation just with recent correspondence that we should maybe have an executive session, if that's okay.
Okay.
As far as the bookkeeper report, that's really kind of all I had to highlight, unless you have some questions.
Can I ask you a question, Dennis? Can we use, with the amount of damage to the concrete paths on Charleston now, just what's happened in the last couple of weeks, could we use any of the park bonds for those repairs or no?
You can use use those, the $25,000 in remaining funds for park improvements.
Okay. So, and just so you all know what's happened, Consolidated is the ones that I have caught and that the constable has caught, driving on the concrete cart paths, and they have basically destroyed all of the over the culverts. They're all just falling apart now. They're just pathetic. So and the two I caught were consolidated contractors. Yeah. And they admit one of them admitted he was consolidated. The other one admitted after I took a picture of the shirt he was wearing that he was consolidated. I also have the name of the contractor. So, but anyway, so if we can use some of that money to fix that, or at least until we can get consolidated to reimburse us for it or whatever. So, because they are in pretty.
If anybody's to walk on them, I don't know if anybody else wants to see them.
Well, you can't ride a bike over them, and you
really
can't.
bad.
Yeah, I don't know that you could you get a cart? Did you ride your golf
I rode
cart
my cart
across?
over it, but if it was wet or if it was bad, it would.
Is that on top of the couple of them that were already?
Oh yeah. Well, this one, the reason I noticed it was when he drove over it Friday night.
Yeah.
The truck hit a piece of concrete and fell off onto the thing and almost went over on his side. because he fell off over the culvert.
Did they
Because of
break the
concrete.
culvert?
They didn't, well,
Oh.
not where you can see it, there might be breaks underneath it, but where you can see it, it's not broken, but all the concrete on top of it's broken.
There's two separate ones.
We should absolutely document that damage and come up with a cost estimate to complete the repair.
Okay. And I do have a police
and seek
report.
those
Yeah,
damages from the contractor, who I'm sure is indemnifying Consolidated. We could pursue Consolidated as well, but.
yeah, and I did have a police report made, so I do have the incident report number and all that, so. And they did go talk to one group of them, and then I stopped the other group with someone, so, anyway, okay.
I did provide you a draft, amended budget. Again, we're trying to pull out the approved budget, but break it out into two separate, operating budget and the STP budget. But it still needs some work, but I want to provide you at least a draft to review and provide any questions or input you may have.
Okay. Okay. All right, review of investments, and we'll just knock them all out at one time.
Investments,
Still earning good interest?
Okay, so on page 2, Texas class is up to 3.2. 1%. It's going to go up even higher. We have been closing out all the CDs. You no longer have any CDs.
Okay.
Districts that continue to have CDs, we've been closing those out. So the banks have become alerted to what's going on, and now they're trying to raise their rates.
Okay.
So we're going to monitor that. If I have a recommendation by next month, I will bring that. But some of the banks are now bringing at least 3%, offering 3% to the on CDs.
Okay.
So that would be a recommendation of mine at some point, is start reinvesting in CDs.
Right. Okay. All right. Any questions? Okay. Payment, you want to approve the bookkeeper, do I have a motion to approve the bookkeeper's report, the tax assessor collector's report, and the investments? We'll just sum it all up
I
in
make a
one.
motion to approve.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. All right, payment of the district's bills. Do you have any questions on any of those?
I didn't.
Okay. Do we want to approve do I have a motion to approve the payment of the district's bills?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
A second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. All right. The agreement for the provision effluent.
Okay, our contract for the provision of effluent, creates certainly some obligations for the district, right? So we have an obligation to maintain the facilities, and we have agreed to sell the effluent to Priestler at a flat cost of $10 a year. But there is a provision in the contract that also allows us to amend that rate should that rate be insufficient to cover our actual costs. And our costs have increased pretty dramatically. Working with Keith, the district has, and East Plantation have incurred almost $9,000 in costs to date this year. This is primarily relating to the repair of the service line that we were responsible for under the agreement, and repair of the meter. But there are absolutely maintenance costs there that the district and East Plantation should be made whole for. So I would recommend that you consider increasing the rate to an amount that is sufficient to cover your costs. In my discussions with Keith and just kind of looking at the numbers, what we have, what I've kind of looked at is months, they've been using about, between 5 and 6 million gallons of effluent on a monthly basis. And so that would generate, $1,250 to $1,350 per month, $1,250 being on 5 million, $1,350 being on 6 million. So that would generate, $15,000 a year or a little bit more, which based off of the costs that we've incurred to date, I think would put you in a good position to be made whole. I think that we can continue to evaluate the rate, and if it needs to be adjusted further, it certainly can. I think that is a reasonable rate considering the expenditures incurred to date. And I'm happy to take any questions or comments or suggestions.
So that's a rate that would pay for basically what we are.
I'm sorry, Carl, I can't hear you well.
So that's a rate that would cover what we our expenditures for this last year, where we had some unusual things. Is it based off an average of over multiple years?
We don't really have an average over multiple years because obviously a lot of that work was done in-house, and frankly, I know that Richard was just kind of doing those repairs, and I don't think he was ever billing anyone for any of that work. Whether or not we had the ability to do so, certainly if he even went out there or did any work, the $10 would be insufficient to cover the district's cost.
Right.
But it's, to my knowledge, something that has never been evaluated. I know that there are repairs to that service line that have been made in the past. And as I said, we can certainly come back and reevaluate that rate, or I'm happy to take any kind of feedback on an adjustment to that rate if y'all would prefer to charge something different than what I've suggested.
We've had two major lines in the last, 2 months? 2-3 months, that delivering the water from here to their pond that we've had to incur.
Right now, they are getting, call it 6 million gallons of water a month, and 10 cents per 1,000 gallons is a very competitive rate. And I think it's important that you have a base fee that generates revenue that is sufficient to make these line repairs. I think our expectation is that this will happen again. Right now we're effectively advancing funds to cover those costs. And I think ideally we would have, some sort of revenue reserves on hand to avoid coming out of pocket to pay for these repairs.
Is this including revenues that would be going to East Plantation as well? Or
I'm sorry?
Well, since this is a joint venture, right? So they would be getting, sharing in these revenues?
I don't think he can hear you, Tom.
Sorry, Tom, if that's directed to me, I just can't hear you very well.
His question was if East Plantation is sharing in the expenses is part of the revenue going to East Plantation.
Absolutely, it is. It absolutely is.
Okay, and the golf course, are they agreeing in this conversation at this point, or have we got that far?
No, and this is not a, the contract says that we can raise our rate to cover our costs, right? And so we would simply be raising the rate and notifying them of that rate increase.
Since we're the operator, we can set the rate.
It is important to note that we did have some communication with them. I believe Keith was in touch with them when the service line failed. my understanding is that they made clear that, that they wanted us to complete those repairs. Is that accurate, Keith?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
One thing,
Your
and
question.
I'm all for charging Chrysler the most we can charge him. But with that last, the agreement or whatever the thing is, if he's pissed off, he can sell the horse and put trailers, because there's no deed restrictions. So I know
Right,
there has to be some,
yeah,
I
Well,
don't like
I
him,
mean, if-
and he's done some things that,
I know.
out of spite type
I
of
know,
stuff.
I know, but we're incurring the cost to deliver water to
I
him.
understand, and
For
I'm
free.
all for,
Yeah,
us
So-
charging him as much as
right.
we can get away with, but
Yeah.
I'm just throwing that out as a
Yeah.
caveat, as we have to remember that.
Well, my opinion, this is my opinion, is that everybody has to pay their fair share.
Exactly.
The
I agree.
homeowners, the
Yeah.
business owners, everybody pays their fair share. Yes,
So my concern is if you're having trouble getting East Plantation to pay for their 50%, so you're gonna give them money that you get from Chrysler, and they're not going to pay for it?
well, there's a way we can offset it, use to offset what they owe us. There's different ways we can do it.
Yeah, we
So-
don't give them any money if they owe us.
They paid their pro rata share of that line repair, to my knowledge.
Yeah,
So-
and they're current on their bills? Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's just the special projects
I got you.
that they don't wanna, yeah.
And that 10% per thousand that you calculated, does that include insurance costs on those?
The 10 cents per thousand?
Yeah.
I have not, let me say this, I think that there is certainly a rate study that could be done where we could go through and decide which costs we thought should be allocated to the service. I am looking primarily at operations and maintenance expenses, and have not looked at other costs that I think could, legitimately be included. There's somewhat of a, philosophical discussion that has to be had on what is and what is not attributable to the cost of service, but there's no question that these are direct repair costs only. But again, I would be happy to sit down with anyone and go through the rates and talk to Keith and look at any other expenses that y'all would like to take into consideration. We've just, the costs have come up so significantly in the last few months that I do think it is appropriate to make an adjustment, and we are certainly in a position to make further adjustments should we see fit, if that's helpful.
Right.
And I would just add, I mean, we're, the baseline that we have to date is fairly minimal, right? I mean, we don't have a whole lot of operational data that I can pull from to help support costs. We've got a few months of data, and that's the conversations that Davis, Paul, and I have had, and just keep in mind that, I mean, these, really the expense side is dynamic, and also the consumption is dynamic. I don't know, but I would anticipate that if come next summer it's not as dry, that, their consumption is gonna be lesser than maybe what it is this year. So, I mean, I think there's opportunity to have, we can revisit this conversation and, any time from now, a year from now, when we've got a little bit better understanding as to trends and, are there additional costs incurred, so on and so forth. And so, I think we can all agree that $10 isn't cutting it. And I think this is kind of our first go based upon what we know today.
But I think 10 cents a gallon, for him to keep his course green, $750 a month plus the 10 cents is more than fair. I think it's a good deal for him, and he's gotta keep his grass green. And of course, he might sell the golf course, but if you're talking about selling the golf course because he can't afford maybe $1,200 a month, I don't think that's something he would do.
But we can't take the expense because he can't do it.
Right, yeah, I think it's fair.
Okay, so do we need to have a motion, make a motion for that?
Yes, please.
Do I have a motion to go forward with the agreement for the provision of effluent?
I'd like to let them, I'd like to make a motion, we let them.
And the notification that of the increase of the rate to base rate of $750 per month and an incremental rate of 10 cents per 1,000 gallons.
Right.
Please.
I'd like to make a motion, we go ahead and advise them of the intended increase.
Okay.
I second that.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I abstain.
You abstain?
I wasn't here for
The
the
whole
whole
thing?
conversation.
Okay. All right, number 5, the resolution for adopting an order establishing policy and rates for water and sewer services. The order for adoption of the schedule of water and sewer service fees and rates.
Okay, you will find the updated rate order on page 23 of your packet. I will direct you to page 29. We have made some changes to the rate order in an effort to address some issues that have kind of been pointed out by our operator. It's my understanding that we have a number of customers that are requesting meter rereads on a monthly basis, and just simply requesting the reread every month. That is obviously a process that, you know, we want to make available to customers in order to, you know, make sure their meter readings are accurate. They obviously have the ability to go out there and look at the meter reading themselves as well. But there is a cost associated with the meter rereads and sending someone out to read that meter for them. And so I have been asked to prepare some amendments to the rate order to address passing that cost on in the event that continues to be an issue. And so what the revised rate order provides is it says that the first meter reread is free, no matter what. After that, the actual cost of the meter reread is to be borne by the customer if the meter reading is determined to be accurate. So if the meter if the meter is reread and it is inaccurate, the customer will not be responsible for the cost. But if it is accurate, then they will be responsible for the cost. I've also included language in there. From time to time, we will have customers request a meter accuracy test. And the revised rate order provides that in the event a customer requests a meter accuracy test, and the meter is determined to be accurate, that the customer will bear the cost associated with that meter accuracy test. And Keith is probably a better position to talk about the actual cost and that process if you have any questions on that.
Is there a plus or minus on that accuracy test?
I mean, so, you know, there's kind of two.
Nothing's perfect.
There's two means that we would typically use in testing a meter. One is just kind of a field-based test, right, where we're gonna, you know, you can take a meter in the ground, you can put another meter on a hose on the external hose bed, you can compare the two meters together, you can do a 5-gallon bucket test. A little bit more sophisticated is you can actually pull the meter, you can send it off and have it bench tested. So, I mean, is there tolerances in our field test? Certainly. I mean, it's not an exact science. On the bench test, it's far more sophisticated. Is there tolerances there? Yes. I mean, ultimately, that bench test, they're going to generate a report that says the meter is registering at 100.5% or 98.5%, whatever the number of percentage is. So, I mean, there's certainly some tolerance there in that, you know, if you give me a meter that's registering 99%, I'm not going to tell you it's an inaccurate meter. If you give me a meter that's registering 106% or 93, 94%, then yeah, I'm going to tell you we've got an issue.
I'm just trying to head off when the customer says, well, it's off by 0.5%, so I don't have to pay. What is our plus or minus that we say is accurate?
I mean, the kind of industry norm, I think, is plus or minus 3 or 4% is typical, and that's even referenced in AWA. So
We should have that on writing. I think
That's
that's what
what I'm
Carl's
saying.
getting at.
Sure.
There's a plus minus 3, 4, 5%, whatever it should be.
Yeah, I agree.
I can be that specific. If you would like to, I will tell you that what the rate order says now is that the meter is accurate within acceptable limits. And so right now, what I typically see my clients do is if the meter is not accurate within acceptable limits, they replace the meter, right? So if the meter goes back in the ground, and the district is willing to continue to rely on the meter, then the customer would be billed for that bench test. I will tell you that, or that on-site test, whatever test is performed. I have never had an experience with a client and a customer where the meter overread. Generally, you see meters underread. And so if the meter is not accurate, then it is costing the district, water, that lost, water revenue. And so generally that's, that would be the basis for replacement. But again, Keith, you may have a better, I'd be more than happy to put a specific accuracy level in the document if that's something that y'all would like to see. And Keith, if you can recommend something, I'd, be happy to.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, and Davis is, I completely agree that if a meter's gonna fail, it's simply gonna fail, 99% of the time it's gonna fail slow. It's gonna under-register water.
And actually, we had this actually happen last week, where it underread and the customer wanted a new meter, and then guess what? Well, she didn't get charged, but then guess what? Now she's getting a bigger bill every month, because it was reading slow, yeah. So.
The other issue is if you include a percentage in the document, you're essentially going to be stuck relying on actually going through the bench test process, right? You're not going to really be able to do the 5-gallon bucket on-site test anymore. It's going to be the meter change out, send the meter off, and then you get a test that generally gives you an accuracy percentage based on different flow levels, right? So low, medium, and high levels, and how the meter reads at each of those levels. So it's not simply, is it 97% accurate? It is, what is the accuracy percentage at those flow levels? And I'll defer to Keith on, who they're currently using for bench tests and whether or not that's the form of report. But that's typically what I see.
Do we know what the cost of the actual meter testing would be to the customer if we charge them for the testing, or how much it would also be if we did the meter rereads? How much the cost would that be?
I mean, the rereads is, 15 minutes of truck and labor, so you're maybe, $30, $40 all in.
No travel time?
I mean, we have guys in district, so it would just be part of their, it'd be part of their, while they're in district doing service work, they would go by whatever address and reread meters. I mean, as far as bench test, you're probably 100 to 150. It's probably somewhere in the middle there. I would guess. To have it bench tested. Davis is right as to kind of the form. The actual written report would come back with a percentage of accuracy at low, medium, and high flows.
What's the life of a meter?
I mean, it's really more so a function of gallons as opposed to years. I mean, typically, we would like to replace meters at or around 1 million gallons. And that's, again, kind of goes back to Davis's point earlier, in that if a meter's going to fail, it's going to fail slow. I mean, eventually, if you don't touch a meter, it's going to stick altogether. And by stick, I mean water's going to continue to travel through the meter, but the actual register itself is not going to detect flow. And so, I mean, that's I think if you go to any MUD in town, they're replacing meters for that very reason. I mean, they're not all, surprisingly, they're not all that sophisticated. There's 2 discs that, wafers that, and you get sand, grit, whatever else in there, and eventually they're going to slow. And eventually they'll stick all together.
So it's a pretty expensive process for somebody to say, my meter's bad and I want you to put it on a bench test and test it.
Yeah, I mean, and again.
It's not a cheap thing, it's,
I mean, and the only, and again, we're happy to go to whatever lengths necessary to try to provide the required service, and certainly I don't want any customer to feel like we're telling them, your bill is your bill, tough luck, pay it. I mean, like I said, we're happy to go to great lengths to try to provide whatever assurances we can as to the meter read, the meter accuracy, so on and so forth. Obviously, at the end of the day, beyond the meter read and the meter, there's I can't tell you where the water went. I can't explain to you why or how you used 100,000 gallon. All I can tell you is the meter was right, the read was right. The rub with the bench test is it takes a little bit of time. I mean, again, we're more than willing to go to take that step. I mean, typically we're going to try to go to rereading the meter, doing some field accuracy tests, trying to meet with the customer, looking at leak, at the leak detector, trying to provide, we can provide dye tablets. I mean, we'll do any and everything we can to try to address the concern and the issue without the bench test, just because, like you said, it's costly, and also you got to put another meter in the ground when you pull it out. You send it off, it's there for a couple of days, and it may take a week before you get results back. So it just becomes costly and cumbersome. So are we willing to do it? Absolutely, we do it all over the place. We do it all the time. But there's lots of other things that we would attempt to do initially.
So just so you have an idea, to answer your question, looking at this month's bill, it was $63.60 every time they did a reread.
And just remember, if the district made an error or the district's meter needs to be replaced, there is no cost to the customer. It is only in the event that the customer requested these services and the equipment was accurate and and the meter read was correct. And there is, again, one courtesy reread there for customers. They obviously have the ability to go out there and look at the meter as well. So.
I don't think I want to go with percentages myself, but my only problem with using the word acceptable is it's acceptable to whom? To us or to them?
Acceptable to you, really, because as I said, those residential meters will slowly become less and less accurate, on the low end, right? So they will account for less and less water. So typically what I see, and this does happen sometimes, we have customers who complain about their water bill, can't possibly be consumption on my side, bill's high, has to be a problem with the meter. We will send the meter off to be bench tested, field tested, and it will actually be reading low. And if the meter is reading low, then the district will come back and replace the meter. I would be happy to be more specific here, but the reality is if the meter is replaced, then the cost of service is going to go up for the customer because they're going to start paying for all of their water. We're much closer to it.
So if they ask for a meter check and we have to replace it, then they have to pay for that meter check, right?
Not if it's on our side.
No, not if it's low?
Not if it's.
If it's inaccurate.
If it's
then we
inaccurate.
pay.
If it's inaccurate, that's what I mean.
We pay for it.
Right, if it's inaccurate, we pay for it, high or low.
High or low. And they don't pay for the new meter either, right?
Correct.
So
No, but they will pay for the water, right?
The new
Essentially, we've
It's
discovered
going forward, right?
So what
now
happens
we
if,
will be collecting all the money for the service.
what happens if the meter, you can't find that the meter's at fault, but the homeowner insists on replacing the meter? What is the cost to replace the meter, and does that go to the homeowner?
So
We
this
can
is the
replace
exact.
meter.
Yeah. This is the
We can
exact
replace an active
situation.
meter.
Yeah. So,
But what does it cost to replace a meter?
I think it's probably gonna be on next month's bill. if
Yeah,
it's not
the
on this
meter
one.
replacement's gonna be, I don't have it here in front of me, but it's gonna be $120 some odd dollars, I believe. That's labor and materials, that's the.
And if somebody insists on doing that, like you say, is it up to them to pay for it? I mean, if there's no fault in the existing meter and they insist
Should
on
be no reason.
getting a new meter, is it the homeowner's responsibility to pay for it, or?
I mean, so, you know, we would, you know, if there's a policy, you know, if we decide that, you know, again, that's kind of district specific, if within RPMUD, we're gonna bill the customer, I'm gonna bill you, as the district for the cost, and then we would adjust that cost onto their water, you know, their monthly water bill, if that's the.
I think that's how we do it,
I
because
think so,
if they're insisting on it getting done anyway.
Sure.
If
That's
the
their-
if
that's
the meter's
their
good,
issue.
and they
Right.
insist on a replacement, then they pay for the replacement.
Cost.
Yeah,
If it's inaccurate, then we pay for it.
Right.
right.
But what if the meter is really old, like from the beginning of time?
If it's still
If
accurate.
it's still accurate, it doesn't matter how old it is. If it's still
Mine's
accurate.
probably 40 years old.
Most of them are.
And actually, I know what you're talking about, the one that was just replaced was really old because of the amount of water that went through it. But now, she's got a resulting higher bill.
Yeah.
So,
I said if most of them are inaccurate to the low side,
right,
That weren't
Go with
replacing all of them.
I need a couple of them.
yeah.
It would take the old ones.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah, put it on mine, so, yeah, so, okay. So,
Let me say on the meter replacement, that's an unusual request, you just don't get those very often, and I think that's a request that Keith could bring to the board, and you know, we could bill the customer before the work was done, right, so.
okay, so do I have a motion to accept the resolution adopting order establishing the policy and rates for water and sewer services and the schedule of water and sewer service fees and rates?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Go ahead.
What I said?
I'll second it.
Second it. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right, operators report, Keith.
Alrighty, good evening, should have a copy of our report there in front of you for the month of September. Show you 975 connections. Received revenues totaling $94,824.09. Beneath that is a gallon filled by user type, total gallons filled 9,345,000 gallons for the period ending September 20. Total gallons produced from the wells, 11,966,000, filled out just shy of 9.5 million gallons, with the leaks and flushing accounted for 93% of the water. You know, again, hopefully, once the dust settles and we have a little bit less going on in terms of leaks and breaks, maybe we can kind of get I can get a better understanding as to where does the system typically operate in terms of accountability. We've not really had a steady month or two since we've shown up, so that would certainly be a benefit to us to kind of, again, get our arms around where does the system typically operate in terms of accountability. Beneath that, we had the 5 leaks, we took the 6 bacteriological samples as required for the TCEQ, those results were good. Just beneath that is your wastewater treatment plant operations, currently at 46% of the permit capacity. You'll see here, I mean, as it's shown here, the E. coli sample, that 4410, that's the monthly average. So that's within permit. We'll discuss that here in just a minute in a little bit more detail. For the calendar month of September, right at 6 million gallons of reuse was metered to the golf course. Beneath that's just the notes based upon prior months, indicating the number of customers based upon usage significantly down from the month prior. Obviously, hopefully that's due to cooler weather and moving out of the thick of summer. Just beneath that is the summary of your age receivables, pretty good shape. We'll watch that 60-day column, but obviously we anticipate that we'll see that continue to improve. Beneath that's just the graph of your accountability. And then the following 2 pages is your DMR. Everything in good shape there, other than, as I mentioned previously, on the E. coli. If you guys recall what I've always told you, if you look kind of the third column in from the left, and there's the number of excursions. If you run down that list, you want to see all zeros. On the second page there, you'll see 1 in the column, so that indicates that there was an exceedance. So there's kind of 2 parameters that the TCEQ looks at in reference to E. coli, or really many parameters, but one is your daily max, and then the other is the monthly average. Monthly average is in permit, the daily max was an exceedance based upon the permit. At the wastewater treatment plant, I mean, ultimately, E. coli is relatively simple. You either have disinfectant or you don't. You have adequate disinfectant that would meet demand, and you would have residual disinfectant remaining, or you have lower disinfectant and it allows for elevated E. coli values, right? And so again, that's a relatively simple one. You know, at the water plants, you know, your flow, your demand is relatively constant. When the well runs, I mean, there might be some fluctuation in terms of gallons per minute that's moving out of that well, but for the most part, it's relatively constant. So when the well runs, we're feeding X number of pounds of chlorine, right? And then when the well shuts off, we don't feed chlorine. At the wastewater plant, that's a dynamic number, right? In the mornings, everybody's up, flushing the toilets, running the showers, whatever else, flow's really high. So demand's really high, so we're gonna feed a lot more chlorine, right? We got a whole lot more disinfectant. As demand tapers off and as flow tapers off, we want chlorine to taper off with it too, right? Because on either end, I get in trouble. If I'm overdosing and I'm putting out a whole bunch of chlorine, that's not good. And if I'm underdosing, that's not good. And so there's a flow pacing device that as flow rises and falls at the sewer plant, it's going to tell you, feed me this much chlorine. Give me more chlorine, give me less, right? And so that way, our feed rate and our flow rate are in unison. That flow pacing valve failed on the 18th of September, and that's the product of, this is the product of that flow pacing valve. So that's all since been corrected and addressed. I don't anticipate that we'll have additional issues, but again, just wanted to make sure you all are aware. Operationally, I mean, the plant looks great. We've got good looking water going out, and so again, I think it's, you know, hopefully this is a one-off deal. We're not having a conversation anytime soon. So outside of the big report, it's really all I have for you. I would say fairly quiet. It's been quieter than some other months, but it's certainly still busy.
Should be good now, they're through with it.
Yeah.
How many pipes is Tachus and Consolidated and Fidium broken?
Enough. Enough. Yeah, I mean, we've certainly had our fair share. I'm obviously joking. I don't know the exact number off the top of my head. But
You read on Facebook and,
a lot.
you know, next door or whatever, it's everybody's complaining.
Sure. No,
about
it's
busting pipes and.
it's been enough to keep us busy.
Okay.
So,
All right.
We need to approve the operator. I make a motion we approve the operator's report.
A second.
A second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, engineers report.
I had a question, Are you guys gonna post the rate thing and everything on the website? You gonna have that all posted?
Absolutely. We'll get the updated rate order posted on the website.
You know that Monty asked us to start sending that stuff to support website, and get people to put it on where you want it. Instead
Okay.
of-
I'll
I can
if
forward
you have
you the
any
email.
sort of specific requests from Monty, more than happy to if you'll pass them along. We're more than happy to, work with him however.
Well, they're just putting in a new procedure. I think he was getting inundated.
Okay.
All right.
No problem.
I do have two other items. I'm sorry. We had two customers contact our office in
Oh,
regards
that's right.
to usage. We had one customer off of Stonewall Jackson. They received 2 invoices for a large amount of water, 117,000 gallons 1 month, 145,000 gallons the following. They did have a leak, they provided proof of repair, and ultimately the customer's request is for some type of adjustment due to the fact that it was a leak and it was repaired. So, you know, typically when these types of requests, you know, are received in our office, obviously it's not our money to give away. And so we'll try to kind of compile the facts. We'll ask that they provide us some information in writing, and we'll bring it to you all for your consideration. And similar to that, I've got a customer. This one again had some increased consumption, not near to the magnitude of the one I just mentioned, but did have increased consumption. Also had a leak. Also provided evidences of a repair. And this particular customer isn't really requesting an adjustment, but rather if the board would be willing to consider some type of payment plan to allow them, what they've asked was up to 6 months to bring the account current, so they would make, you know, monthly installments plus whatever their then current bill was. So,
On the first customer, was it the leak on their side?
yes, ma'am.
Both of them were on our side, yeah.
Yeah, so after they had the 114, 145, the month following their usage fell at 14,000 gallons.
Mm.
It fell to what?
14,000,
From 140.
145.
That's a big leap.
1000%.
Ted Long can have it.
I would be in favor of granting the request to pay it out.
Oh, I agree with that, but I think if we start making
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
judgments on those, we're gonna have to do, I mean, we'll set a precedent
I ended up paying
there.
$65,000 in water damage repairs, and they didn't give me a penny.
Yeah. Well, my water's stuck for 3 days during the freeze, full blast coming out of my faucet, so, and I paid, yeah, so,
I'm in favor of a payment plan
yeah, I
also.
don't,
Payment plan, I think is the
yeah.
best.
With
I
or
would
without
be willing to
interest?
extend that to both of
No,
them.
No interest.
I
No
would, I
interest,
wouldn't,
just 6 months.
yeah, just
No
give them
interest.
6 months to pay it,
Yeah.
so, yeah. We just can't make that exception of readjusting those bills, because then everybody will be coming in wanting their bills readjusted.
Yeah, but I would say we give both of them the option to make payments for 6 months at no interest.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
I'll make that
Do
motion.
we, I was gonna say, do I have a
I'll
second?
make a motion that we allow 6 month payment
Okay.
for
All
these
in-
2 customers.
All in favor?
I'd say.
Aye.
Fine.
Thank you.
Engineers report.
Alrighty, nothing new on the permit side of things. East Ditch FEMA work, that desilting project had been complete, so we're digging into all the FEMA grant stuff. And we'll figure out that. We discussed the Holly Springs issue already in the comments. There is a report attached with 2 different options that we kind of addressed, and so if anybody has any questions, get in my report, feel free to ask. Sanitary sewer phase 1 rehab, pushed that bid to November 4th. We got some feedback from contractors that just needed some extra time to bid it, so just to make sure that we got the best price possible. We'll present those at the November meeting. Wastewater treatment facility electric upgrades, we got the cost estimate back from our preliminary engineering work to be $960,000. That's double the cost of what it was in 2021. We're seeing this across the board with electronic parks just skyrocketing across the board. I think right now, the current, if you were to order a generator, it's gonna take 1.5 years just to get it shipped. So right now, my recommendation with all the other stuff going on is to hold off on that. We really need to work out East Plantation. The plant's still functioning. It is working. And so it's kind of just where we are at times.
So what do you think? You think prices are gonna go up or go down?
They're gonna go up again before they go down.
That's what I'm finding out.
The issue is that in the coming months, I don't think it's gonna make a big issue, and hopefully we can have a reasonable conversation with East Plantation to get everybody on board.
What exactly is needed to be done there at 4?
So-
Wastewater treatment.
So the motor control center, which is the brain of the plant, in essence, really needs to be completely replaced. When doing that, typically you're gonna need to run all new conduits. The conduits you guys have been in the ground since the inception of the plants. Typically, you know, with plants that are in different areas, you can reuse those conduits a lot of times. we did build in a price to not reuse those conduits just because we weren't sure what we were gonna find. You go to pull a line out, and it comes out fine, and you go to push a line back in, and it doesn't go. It happens all the time. Or you pull out lines and they're burned up, or because of the different regulations and stuff, you can't push the same wire through the same conduit anymore. Once upon a time, it could have been a 2-inch, and now it needs to be a 4-inch to meet requirements. So a bunch of stuff in there, so you would have to rerun conduits to all of the control centers at the various centers that run the electronics. That also includes a new generator to run the plant as well, and miscellaneous other electronics. But the big item is the motor control center is about $450,000. The generator is about $200,000. So those are your big ticket items.
Okay.
Water plant number 3, electrical upgrades. From our preliminary design, we're going to be able to minimize those. We may just push those through operations. And then for the building, we're looking to do a maintenance repair on it. We think there's a good potential that with a good contractor, we can salvage the building as is and use it, especially with the other financial demands we're looking at. We feel comfortable. I've spoken with Keith's guys and things like that. That will insulate the building. We'll put up, we'll make it look nice, but instead of ripping it down and building a CMU building for $50,000, $60,000, we probably can get away with a $10,000 repair that we're looking into. That I'll have those recommendations in November. Water plant number 2, you're going to see the same story for replacing that MCC. It's now looking about $500,000 a year, about $220,000 in 2021. So again, just prices skyrocketing. Now this is completely up to you guys. I think we should do a really deep dive into the budget with what we have bond funds, with what we're projecting and things like that. So we're working on coming up with a full breakdown again of kind of what you look like at the CIP now that we're more into it to readdress in the coming year as to what's important. Right now the plant's operational, it is working. Obviously those controls were put in, I think, 78, 80, somewhere in a long time ago. Keith's guys are doing a great job of running it. It is still a recommendation to replace it, but pump the brakes a little bit just to make sure that we don't burn through a potential other repairs, because we've got sinkholes up here and we've got lots of stuff on the table. So, and then the Gunston storm sewer sinkhole, we are waiting a proposal from the contractor. Hopefully I'll have that for the November meeting. Sanitary sewer clean and televised. We're pretty much processed all those videos. Finally got the manhole inspections in, so that project's you'll see taken off the report next time. Storm sewer televised phase 1 and phase 2. We've received actually all of those videos and are just going through and processing. We're talking 30,000 linear foot of line, so.
And any of these camera videos, have you seen any damage that could be the result of the cable companies?
Not in the storm sewer. In the sanitary sewer, we'll see more of those in the phase 2 section of it. Phase 1 was already done before they got out here. Luckily, with sanitary, those while they do affect a little bit, we don't typically see them affect as badly as water. Obviously, the water system being under pressure, it's going to leak a lot faster than a sanitary sewer.
But that's the problem. We don't realize there's damage for years, right?
Right, but it's not affecting the system, is kind of what I'm saying. You typically don't get full flow in an upstream sanitary sewer line. It's not a great answer, it's just the reality of the situation. Channel survey and park survey, we were just getting those CAD files in. We got the CAD file in for the channel survey, so we're updating all of your master location maps. The park survey, they're still finalizing. That was an interesting one, so we're just trying to finalize that. East Ditch D-Silt, that construction is substantially complete. I think it looks absolutely great.
I have a question on that one.
Yes.
I was looking at their invoice before, and they had $3,600 on there for turf establishment. When they were broadcasting, I guess when they would roll over something, they would either reseed it or put more turf in. Have they done that? Yeah,
if you look at where they had all that dirt pile, you'll see little shards of grass starting to pop up in those areas now that we've started to get some water in. So I did inspect that today, and I saw it coming in. If you guys see some blanket areas, it's really easy to get them back out and throw down some broadcast seating and things of that nature. It's just been a little dry, so I don't think we've seen the seeds really take just yet.
And
Okay.
it's getting cooler too, and the grass isn't gonna grow. It's gonna go dormant.
We talked about sanitary sewer clientele, that's underway. The Stone Mountain storm work, I went and looked at that today. We do have the invoice for $26,870. I'm gonna recommend Carol give that invoice to me to hold. I've already touched base with the contractor, they're gonna have somebody on site to repair it. It needs to be
Yeah,
redone.
I took pictures of that also.
It's sunken down.
It's sunk down, the road sunk down,
Yeah.
plus they've left those, their
And I told him.
cones out there, and then the guy's yard.
Yeah, I told them all of
That's
that.
pictures of the yard.
Mhm.
It looks terrible, there's like 2 big sinkholes there.
Yeah, I sent them all those
Okay.
pictures and everything. Julie warned me beforehand. So.
Yeah, it's,
I don't need to be prepared. But
Okay.
yeah, no.
Thank you.
I rolled over it several times and I called him up and he did not. He got some unfriendly words from me.
Okay.
Because we use them all over the place, so he's got a lot of reason to,
yeah,
to
it just
fix
looks
everything.
terrible, I mean,
Not to mention you guys haven't paid him yet. That check
Okay.
will go on my drawer and he doesn't get it until we're all satisfied. So. Other than that, that is really all I have. Unless you guys have any questions.
I've got a question, and number 7 fairway, there was work done there, I believe on a sewer, like last year or the year before, right in between Stone Mountain and Stonewall Jackson.
Okay.
And there's a strong sewer smell coming from there every single day. Is
It's
that,
like a bunch of places.
yeah, that doesn't sound like that should be normal.
No, you shouldn't be getting a strong sewer smell from a line, a manhole maybe, but
There is a manhole there.
Is there?
In the
Okay.
fairway, and I think that's where it's coming from, but.
If I can get with you afterwards, maybe try to figure out exactly how I can,
Where it
I'll
is.
get somebody there and we'll take a look at it.
Okay.
And possibly there's some, flow's slowed and it's holding some sewer and, I don't know.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
Maybe you can meet them one day up here or
Yeah,
something and
yeah.
take them in.
Number 7, you can just walk out your back door and meet him.
That's-
I don't know where that is.
and
Oh.
I know it's right behind my house.
Oh, okay.
Oh, it does stink back there.
It does, yeah. And depending on which way the wind blows, that's who gets it.
Oh.
It's really, really strong.
Alright, is that it? Taylor, is that it?
yes, that's all I have.
Okay, alright. Accept the engineer, motion to accept the engineer's report,
I'll make a motion, we accept the engineer's report.
second,
I second.
okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Joint operating agreement with East Plantation Utility District.
Hold that one.
Oh, you're on mute. You're muted.
I just got the notice. I have shared the correspondence from East Plantation and responses with all board members to date. They are obviously alleging that we've breached the contract and have noted apparently some things that they believe that are required that are not required by the TCQ or the contract. And at this point, we have not invoiced them, and so we just need to get the contract, the work wrapped up, and get an invoice out to them, and go from there. So hopefully we will have a pay estimate and can work on, Taylor, if you'll just help me out, as soon as we have an invoice for the district to close out the contract, if we can, get together with municipal accounts and Carol and get an invoice over to East Plantation for their provider share, that would be great. And the other thing I will say is I think it would be helpful to talk about maybe having a meeting with East Plantation. It sounds like that's something they may be amenable to now. It's obviously important that we work together. We are kind of we are bound to one another through our ownership of these facilities, and there are obviously a number of repairs that need to be made, from drainage to sanitary sewer, wastewater treatment, etc. So, does the board want to kind of talk about who any question that Paul and I should attend as well, but maybe 2 board members, so that we can be a little bit more flexible on kind of timing and scheduling, to meet with East Plantation and kind of share with them all of the information that we have and the work that has been done, and the blockages that have been removed, and et cetera. So.
Well, I'll be on, I'll do it if you want. I mean, they've got their president and their newest board members who was on their board, who they are on their committee.
Okay.
So, who else wants to
Doesn't matter.
I'll volunteer to go.
volunteer? Okay. You gotta check your emails more than once a month. You gotta check your
So you and Carl, that'd be perfect. That sounds great. Okay.
All right. Okay, number 9, meetings scheduled for November and December. Our meetings in November falls on Thanksgiving Day.
November
And
the
our-
17th.
Davis, what, you have something on other Wednesdays, right? Or other, we have, do you remember what day we figured out was?
So I really just pulled up, last year, we did the second Wednesday of both November and December at 6:30. And that worked well, but I'm y'all tell me. I'll if you want to throw out dates, I have my calendar here in front of me, and I can tell you what I can make work. But those second Wednesdays do work for me, if they're good for everyone else.
So November 9th.
Why don't we go to Wednesday instead of Thursday?
And this is kind of the nature of having a fourth week
Because they
meeting.
have,
This
they
will be
have
a
other
problem.
meetings. We're
Every
not the
year.
only
So.
customers.
We're not.
No, unfortunately. I'm good on the 9th.
I'm good on the 9th and the 14th of December.
Okay.
The 9th and the 14th. Yeah, yep. I could do the 9th and the 14th.
Oh, gosh, okay. I told you the second Wednesday. I have a November 9th meeting, but I can,
Do you wanna do it, what's it, Thursday? Do you wanna do it at Thursday, the 10th?
I could do the 10th. I can absolutely do the 10th at 6:30.
Yeah.
I'd rather not.
November 10th?
No.
Oh, wait, the 10th?
Yeah, the 10th,
Yes, that works for me.
okay.
In December what?
In December 14, Wednesday?
Sure, that'd be perfect. November 10th and December 14th.
The 14th is a Wednesday.
So I'm good with that.
December 14th, yeah,
That's fine.
I will probably have to send someone else,
okay.
if you want to cruise that week.
Oh, acceptable.
But we have to vote
I'll be
on
glad
that.
going to
Yeah.
cruise.
There you go.
Good.
So,
The hard part about this business is with regular meeting dates, when you get to the holidays, all of a sudden, if you have a fourth week meeting, it just, it's like a whole month of meetings gets kind of compressed into 2 weeks, and it's always fun, so.
okay. All right. We're going to adjourn into executive session,
Okay.
and we will be out when River Plantation Municipal Utility District Board of Directors back in session at 8:33 p.m. Can you guys hear us? Okay. Okay, you're on mute.
We can't hear you.
You're muted. Okay.
Sorry, I unmute my speakers and now unmute the microphone. I'm just making sure there wasn't an echo. Sorry about
Okay.
that.
All right. So we're back in session. Do I have a motion to authorize the removal of the trees, or are we just, we're
I
good?
make a motion, we accept this and remove those trees so we don't have any other problems with them.
Okay,
I second.
okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Meeting adjourned?
No.
Oh, do I have a
No,
motion
no.
to adjourn? Oh, no.
We have the notice of violation if the board is
Oh,
interested in
that's right.
issuing one of those.
That's right. Okay. Do I have a motion to issue the notice of violation to Consolidated
I make a motion.
And taxes, right?
and Tacos? Yeah.
I make a motion.
Do I have a second?
A second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Right.
Okay. Motion to adjourn?
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Okay. Do I have
A
a second?
second.
I wanted to do that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. All right. See you guys in
All
a
right.
couple of weeks.
Good meeting, everybody, thank you very much.
14th, right?
Great night.
Where you live.
No,
What did we do? What did we decide on?
the ninth, didn't it?
From
The
Small
ninth.
Jackson over to Ditch.
Yeah.
Go
No,
that
we-
way.